So I just watched Tron Ares, which is a sequel of a sequel to Tron. In the first Tron, a guy gets sucked up into the computer program world and has to fight gladiatorial games. In the second one, his son does the same thing looking for him. And in the third one, the big twist of this version is the programs are coming out of the computer world and interacting with the real world. That's the premise. Putting aside how real world physics insane that is, let's just we'll shelve that story. That makes no sense because the original premise of Tron makes no sense either. I like the idea because it gets the best of both worlds. We do get to experience the computer world, which is what Tron is so known for, and you also get to see them interacting with the real world, and that is a fun concept in many ways. I like the way it pays homage to the franchise. They even at one point have them go to the original Tron world, the old 80s style 2-bit world with funky graphics. And I like that. I thought that was a nice touch. I would have loved if they had uh, changed the protagonist's character model to fit that aesthetic because they kind of didn't. He gets sucked up into the 80s uh grainy world but they give him his same kind of outfit and it makes the world look worse. In the original, when people got sucked up into that, they looked like they were part of it to a certain extent, and I think that would have helped. I don't know. It's a minor thing. Thinking about these three Tron movies as a trilogy, it works. Like none of the Tron movies have been stellar in the story department. So I don't feel like it is unworthy of being in the same, like the three of them kind of go together and it does work as a trilogy. I just wish there was more story in that trilogy, but that's okay. I mean, Tron has always been more of a tech showcase than a movie in some respects. And in that way, Tron Ares works fine. There are certain things that go into a Tron story that are kind of required, right? We have the light cycles, we have the discs, we have the bits, we have some new additions, like they have instead of light cycles, we have water skis and these like streamer light staffs, and that's cool. That's pretty cool. We got evil corporations, we've got Jeff Bridges, and we have vague AI spiritualism. All the things that are necessary for a Tron movie are there. Except, of course, Tron. But we won't talk about that. Like, the main plot is basically just Pinocchio, right? And Pinocchio works as a plot, and they do not reinvent the wheel when it comes to the Pinocchio storyline. It was very, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Bare bones, uh, streamlined Pinocchio story. Want to be a real boy kind of thing. All other subplots do not work at all. That's like the closest thing to a story that they have. All the side characters don't work. All their little things go. The thing with her dead sister doesn't quite gel. The primary villain is cartoonishly evil, like ridiculous. That doesn't feel like a real person. He was giving like he felt like a James Cameron movie villain. Like it was so laughably evil. The secondary villain worked better. She was the proper amount of intimidating, but the side characters were forgettable. The ending had way too many sequel hooks. It needed to be like 10 minutes shorter in that regard. The protagonist needed more development on every level. But it had great action. Most of the action was really well blocked out and really well paced. And besides some weird, like, human running away from army scenes that look a little wonky, I think most of the action beats are actually really solid. And they have this kind of time mechanic that I think works very well where yeah, these programs can come into the real world, but they can only do it for 29 minutes. And I think that as a mechanic worked very well for the tension of like, okay, they need to do all this in 29 minutes, right? Everything is time. There's always a ticking clock in almost all of the real world scenes, and I liked that, and I think they used that mechanic pretty well. With that said, I do think that mechanic, the very mechanic that I think really helped the pacing of the movie, hindered the characterization of everyone, but specifically the protagonist, right? While we're in the real world, we're given no time to breathe with Ares. It's hard to get to know him, or more specifically, his relationship with the human girl character. That relationship is never has time to develop because literal death is constantly breathing down their neck. They try to circumvent it by having these awkward conversations as they're like driving down the highway, and they're these 5 minute short bits of like oh, let's talk about your dead sister and stuff, and it's like fast 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 fast, and it rings very hollow. It feels rushed because it literally is rushed. I feel like there's a natural place to put their relationship building scene, and it wasn't where they placed it. It was earlier. I'm gonna get into spoilers for a second. Like, there's a moment when they suck up the CEO lady and put her in the computer world, and she's basically a prisoner by her rival corporation, right? And they really zoom through that and almost immediately try to kill her and try to do all this stuff. It's all super fast, super fast. And then Ares makes that pivotal choice to save her and whatnot, and the whole plot gets kicked off. I feel like they needed a quiet moment before that, like throw her in computer program prison for a second, and Ares talks to her, and I think that conversation helps motivate him to make the decisions he makes. I think that would have just read way better than the conversation they have is after he's made his decision and they're like running around. They can have that talk too, but they needed a quiet moment. And that was where to have that, because that's a moment where the time clock isn't happening, and it could theoretically like fit in that plot. Continuing the spoilery talk, I want to talk about, I think, the themes of this story, because they almost did something interesting with it, and then they just kind of decided to not commit. So they introduced that the CEO lady's sister died of cancer, right? And that is the backdrop of her motivations and whatnot, and it's touched on and given almost no development, and it's just kind of her motivation, and that's it, right? And then there's Ares, who, whenever he dies, he can just be reprinted, right? But he wants to live in the real world. And there's this interesting dichotomy of this her dead sister lived in the real world and had one life, but she had a life, right? He can be reprinted as many times as it takes, but he can't live in the real world for more than 29 minutes. And him choosing to give up being able to come back constantly, repetitively, to live this one life, accepting the risks of having only one life, is the whole point of the story, right? And on paper, I think that really could have worked well, but it's not given any development. What I have just said is only inferred based on me thinking about it. It's not actually the dichotomy I've just built for you by saying that doesn't actually really happen. This is all half-baked ideas that weren't put through, right? If they had like committed to the CEO lady, maybe she's trying to figure this out so that she can bring back her sister, then that comparison would be legit, and her realizing that their way of life, even though it is impermanent, is more meaningful than his, even though he can live as many times as it takes. That whole message is never seen to fruition because they don't give that CO lady any type of arc. She's just kind of there. It's like, oh, you're thinking about quitting, but there's nothing to her, which is a shame because I think a lot of the action beats with her work very well because they don't go the route of making her an action girl. She's just kind of a normal girl running around being chased by these dangerous people. And that worked. That part of her character worked well. Like, she felt like she had a certain skill set and they didn't give her random powers so that she could confront these people. She was defended by Ares and she had no like super action powers. She was just a normal girl. And that worked well for her. That in that way she worked. Everything outside of the action beats, she had there's nothing to grip onto that character. That's the problem, is that I think this is a weirdly well made movie when it comes to like the structure and action beats and the momentum. I think there's a lot going for it, and there's certain like action beats where you get into it of like there's a ticking time clock, that all those things work, but there's no soul because they don't give it any time of letting us latch on to this lady or Ares or anyone that matters. So it doesn't feel meaningful because they didn't give this story much meaning. They tried to, but it didn't quite work. Like that lady needed an arc. Ares and her, their relationship and their connection is the crux of that film, and they didn't find something for them to latch onto together. Like, why do they care about each other? These are amorphous things, but those kind of things need to be clear in a film. Of like, why does he care about her? Okay, well, she can create the permanence code and give him freedom. Okay, she represents freedom. Like, there needs to be this, she needs to have an arc. There's something about him and his story that speaks to her, and she grows as a person at the end. They both need to grow, right? Like, this feels like basic storytelling, but they both needed an arc. Everyone else, all these side characters, not important. Those are the only two characters that mattered for this story, and they felt rushed or frenetically running around, and you don't get to grip on them, which is a shame because I think I liked this movie in many respects. Like, I kind of like it. I wish I cared about it. It will have, I don't feel like there's anything about this film that's going to have a wide cultural impact. In many respects, there's things I like about it, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter at all. It's going to be forgotten in a month, which is a shame because I think lots of things about it were well thought out and well made. It lacked a heart. It lacked a character dynamic and charm. Like, it was trying to be funny, and there's moments where it is. There's moments of comedy, but for the most part, it doesn't land, and it needed it. I enjoyed it, but what did you think of Tron Ares? Comment down below your thoughts. I love hearing other people's opinions. Subscribe if you like this review and want to be notified about the next one. Also, a new chapter of my book, Bone Song, Diary of a Sentient Sword, is out. I release 2 chapters for free a week in the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Happy reading. Take care.